Hi, I'm Joshua Seiler, Director of Training and Development for Niagara Scenic Tours. Today we're going to be walking you through a full pre-trip inspection of a Prevost H3-45 motor coach. Follow along with me. So what we're going to do as we start is when we approach the bus, we're going to be looking for the 4 L's. So we're going to look underneath, make sure there's nothing leaking, nothing low hanging, and it's level. And then, of course, you're saying, what's the 4th L? The 4th L is that the bus is looking good. Then, of course, our 5th L is we want to make sure that the bus is legal. So we don't want to waste our time doing a whole inspection if any of our tags are out of date. So we'll just look at our registration and our DOT inspection. They are current and they're displayed. First thing we do as we enter the motor coach, just make sure that we give a tug up on the emergency brake. Make sure that that parking brake is set. Then we'll turn just the accessory power on so we can see that our bus is indeed in neutral, and that's the safe start position. Then in the back here, we're just going to hit these 3 red lines. That's our Webasto engine heater, and that's going to go ahead and put a heater on the engine block, start heating up our fluids so that we can check those. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to head right outside with a paper towel, check our fluids, check our belts, make sure that our engine is safe to start. Nice little arrow here telling us we need to go up to open this. In the engine bay, the first thing I'm going to look at is just above our reservoir here. I can see that we have a sight glass for the coolant, and that is rising above the minimum level, which is great. I can see all my hoses. I can see and put a hand on all of my belts, make sure that they're not teared or frayed or any of them missing. Then I'm going to come here to the oil, make sure we have an adequate level of oil, which we do. Right, wonderful. And then what we're going to do, next thing we want to do before we start the bus is we're going to do a full brake check, static brake check, and check our warnings to make sure that the brake system is functioning properly before we get the bus started. So the first part of this test, I'm going to put our foot on the surface brake. We're going to release the parking brake completely. And then we are going to just wait for 60 seconds. And we want to make sure that we don't lose more than 3 psi. So we're looking at our air tanks here. I can see we're at about 110 pounds of pressure. Nothing is going down, it's actually holding steady. You would do this for the full 60 seconds. As long as you don't move more than 3 psi, we can continue to the second part, which is to pump down the service brake and check our warnings. So before we get to 60, we should get some warning lights on the dash. And there they are there. Then we'll continue, and before we get to 30, our emergency spring should release this, should activate the parking brake. And there it is. Now that we're at this point, it's safe to start the bus. And now that the bus is running, we can hear that we have an audible alarm sounding. That audible alarm would come on if you were driving down the road at about 90 psi. So since we're in the seat, the pressure is building. We have some time to work with. We're going to head over to the left side here and just work our way. Not going to pass by anything without calling it out. So we already checked our parking brake. Now we have our lever for our tag axle. Tags go up and down. We would take this opportunity to set both our driver and passenger mirrors. Check our driver window. This is a heater for the mirrors, for the mirror defrost. we can lock and unlock our luggage base. Check our cruise control. You see that that's working. We have our kneeler. One click towards me takes the bus down. One click away from me takes the bus back up. We would put our foot on the service brake, make sure that our gears cycle through. There's drive, back to neutral. I can feel that shifting and the brake's holding. Put it in reverse, open this window and listen. I can hear that backup alarm sounding. Moving on up, we have our tire pressure monitoring system that shows that all of our tires have the appropriate pressure. I'm going to turn on our headlights. One click is the parking lights are daytime running, and the second click is full on. And we can turn on and make sure our four-way flashes are flashing, which they are. Upper windshield wipers. The next button is for the windshield washer fluid for the upper. Sometimes you got to hold that down for a little bit, and there it comes. This is our upper defrost. Very important to make sure that that works before you hit the road. Both of our blinds are working properly. We have our fast idle on. Moving to the steering wheel, we want to move it back and forth, make sure that there's not more than 2 inches of play before it grabs the ground. And then at this point, I always just turn the wheel all the way to the left so I can check those tie rods on that side when we get done. We have our lower windshield wipers here on the stick. If you grab the end of the stick and push it in, that's the lower washer fluid. We also have operation for our blinds on the steering wheel. If you press and hold, that brings them down. If you do a double click and hold on the second, so one and hold, that takes them back up. We have our cycles here for the cruise control. We have number 1 and number 2 Jake brakes. I can see on the dash on the bottom left, a 1, a 2, and back to off. Speaking of the dash, we're going to call out our gauges. On the top left, we have our boost. See a little wiggle there, that works just fine. And then we have our engine temperature, so the coolant is coming up to temp. We have our oil pressure, DEF, fuel, tachometer and speedometer, all working properly. And we have adequate pressure now rebuilt in the air tanks. Moving along the dash, this first here is for our driver light, which works properly. We've got the cabin lights. There's a center and an outer. That's kind of like full blast, putting that up. Then we have the reading lights that allows them to have a light above their seat at their control. These passenger fans. We want to make sure that that's on, and then we can turn the climate control on in the back for the passengers. Get them comfortable back there. If you want to check your lower defrost, that is here. We have manual, and we also have an automatic that goes full blast at whatever the appropriate temperature would be to defrost your windows. If you hit that, full blast at 69, put it back to manual, you can adjust this fan speed. We have our DVD player. Make sure that that's working so that you can play your safety video. At this point, while we're in the seat, we also want to just take a look around. Over here on the wall panel, I do see that I have my seatbelt cutter, and that would cut the seatbelt. So let's make sure that our seatbelt works. Comes out, it's not frayed, it's not broken. Clicks in, secure properly. The seatbelt is working just fine. Before we head outside, this bus is equipped with a pre-trip assist, so it runs the lights through a cycle for when we go outside. What you do is you just pull the stick here like you're going to turn on your brights, but don't pull it all the way back, just till you hear a click, and you do 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. And that beeping tells me that the pre-trip cycle has started, so we can head outside. I'd like to start in the front of the box. So looking up top, I can see that all 5 of my marker clearance lights are illuminated, they're secure, they're clean. I can see that there's no damage on my windshield. We do have a little chip here that we're aware of that is not spreading. I'm going to put a hand on both of the windshield wipers. Make sure that those are secure. I'm going to look at both mirrors, make sure they're not broken, and give them a really good tug to make sure that they're secure. This one could be written up. I'd like to see that a little bit tighter, so there's no damage. Then as we make our way down, we see that both of our flash or hazard lights are working properly. High beams and low beams are both on. Secure license plate, secure bumper, the bus is level, and we'll start moving down the side of the bus. All four corners of the bus have the same thing. We have an upper marker light, we have a flasher, a side marker light, a reflector, and a docking light. All are working properly, they're clean and secure. I can see all the way down the side of the bus that there's no damage to the windows or the side of the bus that would be unsafe in any way. As we come here to our wheels, I want to get a good look inside. So first I'm looking up top to make sure that this big airbag is inflated. Then I'm coming around here on this side. I have a steering linkage in the back here. And most importantly on this bus, I want to look here. It's only on this side of the bus, on the door side, that has one of these particular tie rods. They do tend to break, so just make sure that that's not broken. The rest of the steering linkage looks good. Then we move on to our tire. Our tire on the front needs to have a minimum of 4 32nds of an inch tread depth, which they have plenty of. Then I'm looking at the sidewall of the tire for ABCs, abrasions, bulges, and cuts. Looks like a good tire. Move on to the rim. I want to make sure that there's no cracks, no illegal welds. I want to check all of these lug nut covers, make sure that those are secure. All the nuts on the hub, those are secure. The hub itself is not cracked or leaking. And with the valve stem, it's straight, it has a cap. And I'm always checking for mud flaps. If the bus is equipped with mud flaps, just make sure that they're secured. In our first bay, this is where we're going to find access to spare belts. And also right in here, we have our box that has our 3 reflective triangles. Taking a quick look inside, make sure that there's nothing in here that shouldn't be. Also good to note, on all of our buses here at Niagara Scenic, the Prevost have a box on the other side that is taped there, which has an extra suction cup mirror. You have some type of an issue where somebody takes off your mirror, come down underneath. It's got a very powerful suction cup. It'll be enough to get you home safely. Coming down the side of the bus, we have another flasher, a marking light, and a reflector, all secure, working properly. Always want to open up the fuel door, make sure that the fuel cap is secure. Don't wrench them down too tight because the pump has a tendency to really provide a lot of suction. So if you do that too tight, you'll have a hard time getting it off. The F cap is also secure. As we reach the drive axle, we want to reach in and get a hand on both the outer and the inner duals. Make sure that there's a minimum of 2 32nds. Make sure that there's nothing in between the tires. Want to look in for, we've also got the pieces of our suspension. We've got airbags, we've got some linkage bars down there, and just make sure everything looks as it should. Mud flap in between these tires. We're looking at the tread depth here and make sure that is also a minimum of 2 32nds. And then we're going to look at the sides of these tires. Again, ABCs, abrasions, bulges, or cuts. I see none. Look at both of the rims. We want to make sure there's no cracks, no illegal welds. Try to get a hand on every one of the lug nut covers to make sure that those are secure. All of the nuts that go around the hub are tight, and there's no cracks or leaks in the hub. Valve stem is straight and secured. And if you want to check the inner one, you just kind of look. It's usually somewhere across. You can see inside of there. Same here, no cracks or illegal welds. All of the covers are secure. All of the nuts that are on the hub are tight, and there's no cracks or leaks from the hub. Check that valve stem, straight and capped. Got a mud flap on the back here. Then we come to the battery box. In the battery box, we have access to our spare fuses. Make sure that those are there. Under this panel, we have the batteries themselves. The battery disconnect switch on these buses is in this panel here, just on the wall. And we can also see we have adequate power steering fluid. And now we're at a corner. Like I said, all four corners are the same. We have a marker light up top. We have a flasher light on the side here, another marker light, a reflector, and a docking light. Those are all working properly. They're clean and secure. Let's go to the back. Now that the bus is running, I just want to make sure that none of my pulleys are flying around. The belts still look good. Everything is tight. There's still nothing leaking underneath the bus. Everything inside looks proper. I can look up at this point. I can see my license plate lights are working properly. I can hear my audible alarm for the backup, and I can see that the reverse alarms are on, so I'm going to go ahead and shut this door. Alright, and starting from the top, we have 5 marker lights along the top, clearance lights that are functioning properly. Flashing hazards are on. Brake lights were just on. All the lights are working properly. I want to make sure that the license plate is secure, the bumper is secure. That's great. If you come to this side of the bus, again, it's a corner, exactly the same as the other 2 corners. Marker light up top, flasher, marker light, reflector, and docking light, all functioning properly and secure. Taking a look down the whole side of the bus, I can see that there's no damage to the windows or the side that would be unsafe in any way. Again, all these wheels, the tag axle, the drive axle, anything in the rear is a minimum of 230 seconds. We want to look inside, make sure our airbags are inflated, all of our linkage is secure. We want to look at the side ABCs, abrasions, bulges, cuts on both of these. We want to look at our rim for cracks or illegal welds. We want to look at every one of the covers and make sure that they're secure. Check out the nuts that are attached to the hub, and check the hub itself for cracks or leaks. Valve stem is straight with a cap. We have 2 mud flaps that are secure. Always reach in and make sure you get a hand on both tires for the duals, outer and inner, and nothing in between. Alright, everything looks good. Again, putting a hand on everything, checking the rim for illegal welds and cracks, checking our covers, checking these nuts, checking the hub itself, valve stem. Everything looks great. We're going to move on to the next fuel cap. That is secure, but not too tight. And then coming down the side of the bus, we have another flasher, a marker light, and a reflector. Those are secure, working properly. The front wheel, we'll look inside here. We want to make sure that our airbag is inflated. All the components of our steering linkage are secure. On the front, again, it's 4 30-second minimum of tread depth. Abrasions, bulges, cuts, cracks and illegal welds in the rim. Check every one of our lug nut covers. Check the nuts on the hub and the hub itself for cracks or leaks. And our valve stem is straight with a cap. Looking for mud flaps. And our final corner, we've got a marker light up top, a flasher, a marker light, docking light and reflector, all working as they should. And this front panel, we have extra fuses in here, but what we're looking for right now is to make sure we've got enough washer fluid. We have access to our spare tire, our emergency air release for the front door. And that completes the outside of the bus. Let's head inside. Okay, I'm going to see I've got a door light and stair lights working properly. Grab my railings, make sure that they're secure. Emergency door release for the inside as well, working properly. No debris in the stairs. As I enter, you still hear that beeping from the cycle. If you just do one click on this stick that comes off the wheel, it'll turn that beeping off, and I'll shut the front door. Alright, and when you're standing here, you've got a good view of under both of the front seats. What we're looking for under the front seats is the fire extinguishers. We want to make sure they're secure, make sure the pins are in, and make sure that they are charged up and in the green. And then we can look over here next to the front seat. On the wall we have our fire suppression system. Make sure it has a green light or no light. Green light is good. No light is also good. If it's got a red light though, make sure you let somebody know. Don't go driving around. You might send foam over the parking lot or something like that. Make sure it's got a green light or no light. Red light is bad. Red light. And in every bus we should have the book. In the book, what are we looking for in the book? Well, we want to make sure that we have extra paper logs in case our electronic log goes down. We want to make sure that we have our apportioned registration. And we want to make sure that we have insurance for the bus. That is all in there. We also have accident forms and incident reports. We've got supplies ready for the trip. Garbage bags, paper towels. There's the first aid kit. We want to make sure that we check all the emergency exits. So this bus, it's got 2 emergency exits on the roof. One in the front, one in the back. 7 of these windows are emergency exits. The ones that are labeled emergency are the ones that open. Of course, the front door is where you'd want to send people. That's your main emergency exit in an emergency. And also, the driver's window can be kicked out in case of emergency. So to open these, all you do is you push it up, turn to exit, press. Line this up, give it a little rock, latch it, and that's secured. Check the seat backs as we're going, make sure that you put the seats up. Any of these windows, like I said, it's labeled emergency. What you do is you pull up this bar, push the window out, clamp it back down, nice and simple. Check all the seat backs as we head back. This one needs to come up, put the arm pressed down. Now, you would check every one of these windows. I'm just doing one on each side for the purpose of the video, but you're going to want to check every one of them every time you have a trip. In the rear of the bus, slide the door open. Listen. You want to make sure that you hear that circulator fan going. That takes all the air from the bus, runs it through the filters, blows it out the exhaust in the back. Make sure you got nice, clean, fresh air in the bus. Make sure that the toilet flushes, which it does. And I always put the seat down, or else you're going to take a turn and it's going to slam down and scare you. I think you hit something. So to finish our pre-trip, we're going to head all the way up to the front. And to complete our pre-trip, the first thing we want to do is just make sure that our wheels are straight. Release our parking brake, put it in drive. We're going to let it roll just a little bit. Make sure our service brake works. And it does. We're going to let it roll again and then pull the parking brake. And that works good. And then just give it a little bit of acceleration. Make sure it doesn't pull one way to the other too much. Put it back in neutral. And that completes our pre-trip inspection. You always make sure you check your horn. It's usually the last thing that I check, just to make sure my air pressure's built back up and everything. We got an electric and an air horn. If I beat my horn, that's the end of my pre-trip. Thank you for watching.